Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're getting into something pretty interesting, an idea that might just change how you think about money. It's this thought that, doing well financially might have less to do with how smart you are, like book smarts, and, well, a lot more to do with just how you behave. Yeah, and for this deep dive, we're drawing from a really insightful summary of The Psychology of Money. That's the book by Morgan Housel. It's one of those books that really shifted the conversation around personal finance, moved it beyond just the spreadsheets. So our mission today is to unpack this kind of counterintuitive idea that how we see money, our financial view, it's super personal. It's shaped by, well, everything, our own life experiences, how we grew up, maybe even trauma. Luck plays a part. Fear, too. This isn't about the numbers game today. It's about the human side of money. Okay, let's unpack this. So first off, you've probably seen this, right? People make such wildly different choices with their money. Some save like crazy, others spend everything. You've got aggressive investors, super cautious savers. That's all over the map. Why? Why is there such a huge range? What's the thinking here from the source?
Well, the core idea, and it's a big one, is what the source calls no one's crazy. Essentially, everyone's financial choices, they make sense to them based on their unique history. Think about someone who lived through, say, really high inflation. They're going to fear debt and instability in a way someone who only saw like booming stock markets just won't get. Their pasts are totally different, so their actions now are different. It makes sense in their world. And the key takeaway from the source on this is be humble, because nobody, absolutely nobody, sees the whole picture. Your view is just one slice, heavily colored by your own life.
I get that. But what about choices that just seem, objectively bad? Like someone racking up huge credit card debt on luxuries. How does no one's crazy fit there?
It doesn't mean every choice is good or optimal from an outside view. But from their perspective, maybe driven by insecurity or social pressure they feel intensely, or a different understanding of risk, it makes a kind of sense to them in that moment. Understanding that helps us be less judgmental, maybe more empathetic, even if we think, wow, I would never do that.
Yeah, that's a really important distinction. It's about their internal logic. And the source also talks a lot about things outside our control, right? Like luck and risk. How does it explain the connection between those two?
Yeah, it frames them as siblings, basically. Luck and risk. Both are powerful, both are largely out of our hands, and they massively shape financial outcomes. The source really pushes this idea. Don't just study the winners. You learn just as much, maybe more, by looking at failures. It uses the Bill Gates example, getting access to a school computer back then. That was incredibly rare. A huge slice of luck that gave him a massive head start. So success often has hidden luck, and failure often involves risk maybe you couldn't even see. It gives you a more realistic viewpoint.
But does that mean our planning, our hard work, it matters less? If luck is so big, how much control do we actually have?
No, it doesn't sideline hard work at all.
Huh.
But it does add humility. It means recognizing, okay, maybe some of my success was good timing or circumstance, and maybe that failure wasn't entirely my fault. Maybe it was just bad luck. A risk materializing. It's about understanding all the variables, not just your own effort.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. The balanced view. So, related to this, we often talk about making rational money decisions, perfectly logical. But the source says being reasonable is maybe more important. What's the difference? Like, why would someone pay off a low-interest loan early? It doesn't always add up mathematically.
Exactly. Because reasonable decisions factor in your emotions, your values, your peace of mind, things that don't show up on a spreadsheet. Paying off that low-interest mortgage early. Maybe mathematically you could earn more investing the cash. That's the rational view. But if being debt-free helps you sleep soundly, reduces your anxiety, feels right for you, that's perfectly reasonable. It aligns with your life. The advice is pretty clear. Aim to be pretty reasonable, not perfectly rational. Finance should serve your life, not the other way around.
I like that. It feels more human, less pressure to be a perfect calculating machine. Okay, let's switch gears to some common traps. This feeling of never enough, this constant chase for more. What's driving that, according to the source?
A huge driver is social comparison. Constantly looking over our shoulders, seeing what others have, measuring ourselves against them. It's a dangerous game because the goalposts keep moving. You reach one level, then you see someone higher up. The book uses the example of Rajat Gupta, incredibly successful, wealthy, but greed, comparing himself to billionaires, led him to insider trading, ruined everything. It's a stark reminder you have to define what enough means for you. Otherwise, you're just on a treadmill that never stops.
Yeah, that comparison trap is so easy to fall into, especially today. Okay, this next one is fascinating, the man in the car paradox. So you see someone in a really fancy car, what's the typical thought?
Right. Do you think, wow, that driver must be so cool? Probably not. More likely you think, wow, it'd look amazing driving that car. You use their possession as a benchmark for your own desires. We kind of assume others admire us for our stuff, but really they're often just projecting themselves onto it. That's the paradox.
Huh. That's so true.
And this ties directly into another really key idea. Wealth is what you don't see. Real wealth isn't the flashy spending. It's the assets you haven't spent. The savings, the investments working quietly in the background. That's what gives you freedom and options. So the lesson is, don't try to look rich. Be rich. Quietly, maybe?
Such a powerful reframe. Focus on the unseen foundation, not the visible decorations. Okay, slightly different angle now. Why does bad news always seem smarter? Especially about the economy or the markets? The seduction of pessimism. Why is that so appealing?
It taps into how we perceive change. Market crashes, economic downturns, they're sudden, dramatic, scary. They grab our attention immediately. Growth, on the other hand, compounding. It's slow, often boring. It happens incrementally over long periods. So the source says, progress happens too slowly to notice. Setbacks happen too fast to ignore. And that asymmetry means pessimism often sounds more urgent, more intelligent somehow. It can easily knock you off your long-term plan if you react too strongly to the noise.
That makes a lot of sense. The loud crash drowns out the quiet growth. So focusing on that quiet growth, let's talk about the power of time. Compounding. There's that amazing statistic about Warren Buffett in the book. Can you share that? How does it show confounding compounding?
Yeah, it's pretty staggering. Something like 99% of Warren Buffett's net worth came after his 50th birthday. Think about that. 99%. And it wasn't because he suddenly got way smarter at 50. It was compounding finally hitting its stride. It's confounding because it's so counterintuitive. The growth is tiny, almost invisible for years, decades even, like a snowball barely moving. But if you let it roll long enough, down a long enough hill, it becomes this massive, unstoppable force. The growth curve goes almost vertical. The lesson from Buffett isn't really about stock-picking genius. It's about incredible patience and consistency over an extraordinarily long time, letting that magic work.
Patience and time. Okay, that leads nicely into another concept, the difference between getting wealthy versus staying wealthy. They sound similar, but are they different skills?
Oh, very different, according to the source. Getting wealthy often requires taking risks, being optimistic, maybe a bit bold. You need to go for opportunities. Staying wealthy, that requires a totally different mindset. Humility is key, a degree of paranoia even, and definitely restraint. Think about building a house that takes ambition, vision, but then you have to protect it from storms, decay, unexpected problems. That takes vigilance, defense. The source suggests a mindset like, save like a pessimist, invest like an optimist, prepare for things to go wrong, but believe in long-term growth for your investments.
Save like a pessimist, invest like an optimist. I like that. And sticking with investing, tails drive everything. What does that mean? That just a few things account for most of the results.
Exactly. In investing, and maybe in many parts of life, a very small number of events or decisions, the tails or outliers, have a hugely disproportionate impact. The summary mentions that for Buffett, maybe just 1% of his investments generated the vast majority of his returns. A tiny fraction drove almost everything.
Wow, only 1%.
Yeah, or something like that. So what does that mean for us? It means you have to accept volatility. You can't sweat every little up and down. Most of your investments might just do okay or even poorly. It's the few big winners that really matter in the long run. And this connects right into needing room for error. You can't predict which ones will be the big winners, so you need a margin of safety. Don't bet the farm on any single thing. Smart investing isn't about maximizing returns on every single trade. It's about survival, avoiding ruin so you can stay in the game long enough for the tails to work for you.
So it's about resilience, not perfection. Okay. Now, we're always told to save for something specific, right? A down payment, retirement, a car. But the source makes a case for saving without a reason. Why just save, with no goal?
Because life is fundamentally unpredictable. Saving isn't just for planned purchases. It's for the surprises. Emergencies happen. Opportunities pop up unexpectedly. People lose jobs. Things break. Having savings with no specific label gives you flexibility, options, resilience. It's a buffer against the inevitable chaos and uncertainty of life. Money buys you freedom from worry, in a way.
That's a really powerful idea. Saving for the unknown future, not just the known goals. And the final point we should touch on, which ties into that unpredictability, is that you'll change. How does acknowledging that help with financial planning?
Well, this is a fundamental truth, isn't it? The person you are today, what you want, your priorities,
Mm-hmm.
they probably won't be exactly the same in 5 years or 10 or 20. Life happens. Your career might change, family situation, values shift. So planning needs to reflect that. It means avoiding extreme financial decisions or overly rigid plans that lock you in. You need flexibility built in, adaptability. Because the future you might want something completely different, and your plan needs to be able to bend without breaking.
That's such a crucial reminder. Build a plan for the person you might become, not just who you are now. Okay, wow, we've covered a lot. Let's try and recap the big themes here. Personal finance is, well, it's deeply personal and emotional, not just numbers.
Definitely.
Time and patience, often way more important than being the smartest person in the room.
Absolutely. Compounding needs time.
And that real goal, maybe it's independence, peace of mind, not just flashing wealth. Wealth is what you don't see.
Right. The unseen assets.
Saving is vital, not just for goals, but for resilience against surprises.
For the unknown unknowns.
And maybe the biggest takeaway, managing your own behavior, your psychology around money. That's more critical than mastering complex financial strategies.
Couldn't agree more. That's the heart of it. The psychology of money really holds up a mirror. It helps you understand your own relationship with money. The fears, the hopes, what actually drives your decisions. It reminds us the ultimate goal isn't just having a big number on a statement. It's about living a rich life, whatever that means to you, with freedom, meaning, and hopefully some peace.
That's a great place to leave it. So here's something for you to think about. How might shifting your focus, maybe away from accumulating things people see, towards building that unseen wealth savings, investments, flexibility, how might that redefine your own path to freedom and peace of mind?